Welcome to English 4E. This is Class 26, Term 1B, and today we are looking at Assignment 32 in Unit 3. This is Jillian Percy, and here are all the ways to contact us. The studio right now is 1-800-465-7144. The office is 1-800-667-3703, extension 2211. I'm always here for a little while after the show, and then I will be back in tomorrow all day. My email is jillian.percy@nec.on.ca. That is the most reliable way to reach me because I check it constantly throughout the day. There's also Facebook, for those who love Facebook. Capital G, capital P, ERCY, space, capital W, AHSA. I want to point out that if you put in a refriend request, sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't. But if you send a message, the message always shows up. So even if you just say, hi there, I'm taking your English 4E class or whatever, when you do that, I'll get a message in my email and then I know to go check it out. There are two different YouTube channels that you can find previous classes on if you want to know how to do an assignment. The first one is my teacher one. That includes all my classes that I taught last year and everything I've taught this year so far, right? And that's helpful if you are ahead of where we are, or if you're wanting to look at a class that I haven't taught yet, because I haven't taught everything this year, obviously, because we're only partway through the year. And then there is the school channel. This is a new thing we've started this year, where all the different teachers have their courses on, but that's only from this year. So if it hasn't been taught this year, you won't be able to find it there. So either one of those is a good place to find our classes. Okay, how to hand in work. I cover this every single time because there's always questions about this. If you have to take a photograph of an assignment, please make sure that it's nice and crisp and clear so that I can read your writing. You also want your writing to be dark enough. Some people are using like pencil or very light pen, and when it gets uploaded and then printed off, it can be very sketchy and hard for me to read. So print nice and dark, okay? Once you've taken the picture, don't share it with me, but instead download it, save it, and send it as an attachment. When it just gets shared, it kind of comes up really huge and doesn't show up very properly. We have to kind of play with it for a while to make it print off properly. Whenever you hand in work, please send it to studentwork@nec.on.ca. You can include me in the email, but don't just send it to me, because if you send it to me, other people don't have access to it, and you'll be thinking, who else needs access to it? Well, here's the thing. Sometimes things get lost, or sometimes people don't finish the course this year and they need to do it next year, and maybe someone else is teaching the course next year. This way, the teacher can still access it. If it's in my email and I drop off the face of the earth, no one else can find it, okay? Always make sure your full name, the course name, and the assignment name or number are right on the assignment, not just in the email, but physically at the top of the assignment, okay? If an assignment asks for the rough and the good draft, or like a revised draft, please label it right up top and include them both in the same email. They often have a different marking scheme, and they can be for different marks. So if one, like the rough copy might be 10 marks and the good copy is 20 marks. If I don't know which one I'm looking at, I don't really have an easy way to mark it, which will delay marking because I'll wait until I talk to you and find out. The other thing is, if an assignment doesn't ask for a rough draft, I would ask that you not send one in, okay? Sometimes it just kind of assumes that, you've developed the skills to do one, but I don't necessarily need to see it. But if you include it and I don't realize it, and I think it's the good copy, I might spend half an hour marking something only to find out, a few pages later, hey, here's the good draft that I should have been marking. So that could be frustrating for everybody concerned, okay? If there's some specific reason why you want to include a rough draft, like you want my opinion on something, just give me a heads up and let me know about it, okay? All right, we are coming to the end of week 7. We're not going to obviously repeat 31. We're only covering 32 today, which is kind of a little bit of a short one, but it's a meaty bit, and I don't want to go on to anything else. So today we're looking at different types of business reports. We're looking at a sample business proposal, and we're going to answer questions on the sample business proposal. We're also reading the business proposal with the idea that later on in this unit, one of the jobs we're going to have to do for an assignment is create our own business proposal. We're going to talk about business writing purpose and the concept of audience, and talk about writing summaries. Oh, wait. Hang on a sec. This is all wrong. Look at this. We'll just skip over it. But this is Unit 3, not Unit 2. My apologies. All right, all about reports. One of the problem-solving tools used by decision makers in the workplace is the report. A report gathers, summarizes, and analyzes information. It may also recommend solutions to a problem if required. There are two basic styles of report: the formal report and the informal report. And then there are two main types of report: information and analytical. So I want to point out, style means kind of like when they're talking about formal versus informal. Informal would be like me talking just to my boss. A formal one that's going out to the entire organization, I might write in a much more structured way, with a higher level of language, all that kind of thing. But the purpose of the report, it could be an informational report or it could be an analytical report, which we'll talk more about in a few minutes. The style and type of the report will depend, of course, on its purpose and on its audience, which is true for all writing. Okay, so basically this is kind of going into more details about formal versus informal reports. As always this week, I'm sorry, I'm struggling with a bit of a cold, and I'm trying to make sure I don't cough from anybody's ear here. Hang on a second. My apologies there. Okay. Formal reports are usually longer and more detailed than informal ones. The reason for the longer length is that the issues are generally examined. They're usually more complex. More information is going to be required, and the subject will often be analyzed in greater depth than in an informal report. Another difference between the two styles is an informal report is usually written for internal circulation, meaning it's just going to other people in the office, whereas a formal report could be written just for internal, but it could also be going to external circulation. Obviously, if people outside the business are seeing it, you're going to make it more fancy. So here's an example of an informal report. This is just intended to other people in the company. The date is on there, January 10th, 2010, obviously an older one, to Joanne Maru from Melissa Noble. Subject: recommended communication interface for internal use. The following report compares two software programs and makes recommendations about the most suitable product for our company. I have researched software packages offered by various companies and narrowed my choices to two: Softronic and MediaCore. The main criteria used when selecting the software were cost, user-friendliness, and technical support. 1. Cost. Softronic offers a more competitive price in comparison to some other companies, including MediaCore. The one-time price is $23,000. There's an annual user fee of $650, which includes installation, upgrades, and technical support. The MediaCore product has a slightly higher price and an additional fee for upgrades. However, it does not charge an annual user fee. See the table below. And then they've put it all in a nice little table for someone to see. Number 2, user friendliness. Both companies sent demos of their products. I asked some staff to test them for user friendliness. Our staff found that both products were easy to use and no extensive training would be required. Softronic offers free software training with a 5-year contract for their services. MediaCore provides manuals and training materials free of charge. The Softronic product may require additional upgrading of the hardware in some of our offices. Technical support. Both companies offer excellent technical support online and by phone. Conclusions and recommendations. The Softronic product is a more cost-effective choice in comparison to the MediaCore product. So you can see this is just a kind of a little report. Probably the boss asked, hey, can you check this out? It's not a big thing. It may not have taken an enormous amount of time to write, although obviously since they kind of practiced using them, it may have taken a little time to work on. But it's an informal report. It's just for her boss and whoever else is going to see this. Here's an example, at least partially, of a formal business report, which would probably be much longer, by the way. This is just kind of a few samples of it. Report on staff turnover in GHS Corporation, submitted August 8th, 2019. Introduction. The Human Resources Manager requested this report to examine the high turnover rate of employees at GHS Corporation. The information in this report was gathered by members of the Human Resources Department over 3 months. The 5-member team analyzed administration records and working conditions as well as interviewed staff. In this report, recommendations are made to minimize the high turnover rate among the staff working at GHS Corporation. Background. GHS Corporation has been operating for 10 years. It employs 200 people, with most of the employees tasked with processing fees for insurance clients. Despite operating in a region with substantial unemployment, the annual turnover has been between 60 to 65% every year. There's probably a whole bunch more information there, and then we come down to kind of the end. Findings. The most significant issue found by the HR team when interviewing staff was the lack of support to new mothers who require childcare services to be able to come to work. Employees mentioned their frustration at not having an in-house childcare system that could help them continue working. Another issue mentioned by the staff was the lack of communication between employees and upper management. They expressed their concerns about receiving inconsistent and late instructions. They shared how they didn't know the main business objectives, which led them to lose interest in the company and their jobs. Conclusions. The main issues that we found were as follows: lack of support to new mothers as regards to childcare, lack of communication between the staff and upper management. And in a formal business report, there would almost certainly be a list of recommendations like, here's what we think you should do. Oh, wait, I think it might actually be on the next page. There we go, yeah. To address the two main issues, we recommend the following steps be taken. An in-house childcare center can be established at minimal cost to GHS, encouraging mothers to return to work. Number 2, each department should choose an employee ambassador to represent the interests of staff in management meetings. This ambassador can express concerns and relay outcomes to their teams to increase engagement. Okay, so now talking about informational reports. If you were asked to prepare an informational report, you would be expected to present facts or assemble background information that will assist managers in making decisions. No recommendations or evaluations will be required on your part. An information report might provide current data on inventory on hand or on order, on back order, or in process of shipment. Another report might give you the cumulative expenses involved in each job shipped and in production for the past 6 months. Annual reports, progress and sales reports, inspection reports, accident reports, procedural manuals, and training manuals are other examples of information reports. Sorry, it's kind of frozen on me there for a second. There we go. So here's one example of like a company sales report. Here it talks about the product. It's got the year broken across in quarters. Here it shows how much they made for each one of these product types. This is the kind of thing where at the end you could look and see like what sells well, what doesn't sell well, what made the most money, all that kind of thing. An analytical report goes beyond the reporting of facts. It will make recommendations on possible solutions to the problem being researched or offers evaluation of the data or the various courses of action open. Analytical reports may be used as aids for managers making decisions about a problem or as guidelines for future action. Proposals, feasibility reports, budget reports, evaluation reports, and product analyses are examples of analytical reports. In the following section, you'll be taking a look at one of the analytical reports mentioned, the proposal. At some point in time, you may be a member of a group within your own community, or perhaps on your own initiative, planning to develop a proposal of some sort for real. Oh, hang on. Okay, yeah, we'll do this. So here's a sample analytical report. This one is talking about websites. Here it's looking at where did the people come from when they came to the site? Email marketing, paid search, referrals. It's looking at it on a certain day. Talking about total by source. This is the kind of thing where you would be able to look at this and again make some information about what you want to do about marketing or where you want to invest your time and your money, what's working well for you, what's not. Okay, proposal. A proposal is one type of an analytical report in which you describe a need or a problem, suggest a solution, and then try to persuade your reader or your audience to agree to your solution. Proposals can be a few pages long or just one paragraph depending on the nature and purpose of the proposal. So we are going to read a proposal shortly. And like I said, we are going to be writing a proposal later on in this course. So I want you to kind of pay attention because I want the one that you write to be about the same length as the one that we're reading, basically. Tips for an informal proposal. The following are some guidelines and tips to help you organize an informal proposal. Use facts to make your argument for you and avoid appeals to theories or emotions. Number 1. In the introduction, provide highlights from the body of the report. Briefly describe the problem or need and the proposed solution. Include the total cost of the proposal and the completion date if applicable, if it applies. I'm sorry. So the introduction is kind of providing like a little summary, basically. Number 2, begin the body of the proposal with background information. Describe the problem in more detail and suggest ways of evaluating possible solutions. I apologize for the alarm going off in the background. I can't control it. Number 3, next, describe your proposal. Include relevant details such as how long it will take to put in place, how the work will proceed, and a breakdown of costs. Number 4, use your proposal to describe what's needed for solving the problem and to show how your suggestions fulfill each need. Isn't that awesome? It's a lovely sound, isn't it? Number 5, to show that your proposal is the best, you could present other solutions and analyze each one according to the needs you've presented. Number 6, describe the qualifications and experience you or your company has in the field. You could end with a summary of the benefits to be derived from your proposal. Be enthusiastic, but maintain a formal tone. With information provided here, along with a sample proposal and assignment, you will have a better understanding of this type of report, and you will be better prepared to write one, which, as I said, we are going to do. Okay. So basically, a proposal is kind of like you're writing up an idea that you're hoping somebody else is going to give you money to do, essentially. Okay? That's it in its very basic terms. So this is key question 32, and it is a proposal analysis. It's worth 25 marks. After this, there's a sample proposal written by a group of people who are hoping to obtain something. First, we're going to read the proposal, and then after you've done the reading, you're going to complete the questions that follow. And as I said, please be aware, we're going to be writing a proposal using this sample as a guide, so it's really important to understand all the parts. Oh, hang on one second. Okay. So it begins. So this part up top is just kind of addressing who it's to and who it's from, which seems simplistic, but you know what? If you're sending a proposal to a large company, you want to make sure it gets to the right person or the right department, okay? So to Friends of the Environment Foundation from the Ontario Public Interest Research Group, Kenora. Introduction. We are requesting funding in order to improve a very popular interactive display designed to educate the public about green environmental practices in the home. The estimated total cost of the project is $7,500. After receiving a donation of some display panels, we still need $4,500. Construction of the display would begin in April or earlier if a part-time coordinator is hired, and be completed by the end of May. All right. Background. So the background is just kind of explaining kind of the history of this and helping you to know more about the project so you understand why they consider it important. Okay? In 2021, Opreg Kenora developed an extremely popular educational display called the City House of Horrors. The display is a mock-up of a house with real fixtures: bath, toilet, stove, and so on. Individuals walk into the display as they would rooms of their own home and are presented with information in a variety of forms that provides practical and simple alternatives to common household activities that are bad for the environment. There are flaps to lift, quizzes and puzzles to solve, and buzzer boards to press. Literature is provided for individuals to take home with them. During the summer, we conducted a door-to-door survey in Kenora. Over 200 households were visited, and over 150 environmental surveys were collected. This project provided us with important background research on what people need to make their lives more environmental friendly. We learned that people were very eager to make a difference, but still lacked friendly ways of getting information to make the necessary changes in their lifestyle. So, proposal. This is kind of the summarized version here. We are seeking funds to improve our version of the City House of Horrors. The concept is fully developed, but we want to make it more professional looking and lightweight so that it can be easily moved and set up. We would like to make a new model that would stand up to a lot of use. Rationale. Rationale is like, here's the reason behind it. Here's why we justify this. Okay? The number of environmental disasters and problems can be overwhelming for most people. It is often difficult to see how individuals can have an impact on problems as large as global warming. The importance of the City House of Horrors display is that it shows how individuals can make significant contributions to their local and global environment. The City House of Horrors is an interactive display that has proved popular with both adults and children of all ages. The display is fun and yet manages to convey an enormous amount of information. The positive feedback that we have received about the display is evidence of the fact that it is an extremely accessible way of presenting information. We have received many requests to exhibit our display, both within and outside Kenora, but because of its unwieldy size, we have not often been able to fulfill these requests. Uses of the display. The display will first be shown at the Kenora Harborfest on May 27th, with an expected audience of between 300 and 400 people from Kenora. The display will then go to the Kenora Shopping Mall as part of National Environment Week, June 1st to 7th, activities in Kenora. The display will be used at numerous community events, particularly during the summer. During the fall and winter, we would like to book the display into schools. We have talked to several area teachers involved in environmental education, and they are extremely excited about setting up the display in their schools. We would concentrate on school bookings in Kenora initially, and slowly extend our range into the communities of Red Lake and Bombertown, Dryden, and Sioux Lookout. Estimated costs. Project coordinator, $2,500. Benefits, $500. Display panels, $3,000. Materials and supplies, $750. Printing and promotion, $750. Total expenses, $7,500. In-kind contribution, that means it's already been, not the money, but the item needed, $3,000. Request from Friends of the Environment Foundation, $4,500. So in other words, the total project will cost $7,500, but they already have some of what they need, So they're only asking for $4,500. Budget notes. Number 1, the project coordinator's position will be full-time for a period of 8 weeks at $16 an hour, or alternatively a half-time position for 15 weeks. The coordinator will be responsible for developing the display, coordinating volunteers, and organizing the staffing and setup of the display at each location. Benefits would include unemployment insurance, the Canada Pension Plan, employer's health tax, and vacation pay. Number 3, materials and supplies, cardboard, Bristol board, laminating to rebuild components of the display. Number 4, printing of educational materials and promotion of the display. Number 5, we have received a contribution of modular display panels and traveling cases. Staffing. We are a volunteer organization. We have 2 permanent staff and a variable number of grant staff. Grant staff means staff that are temporary. They've applied for some sort of grant funding, and they only are paid as long as that grant exists. We have a volunteer board of students and community members, and numerous volunteers working on a wide variety of issues. This kind of project will draw on the ideas and advice of many of these people, and the project coordinator will be responsible for coordinating volunteer contributions to the project. At least one of the permanent staff will be involved in supervising the project. Depending on the various granting agencies, we may also have grant staff to assist with various aspects of the display. Certainly we will have numerous people to draw on to staff the display at the block party and during Environment Week. Schedule. We would like to begin the project in April or February, if we have someone part-time for 16 weeks, and finish at the end of May for the Kenora Harbor Fest celebrations. Credentials. We have enclosed a copy of our last progress report that describes our organization and the types of projects that we work on. So the credentials is kind of trying to show that, that you're a legitimate organization. You're not just kind of somebody randomly doing this out of your backyard. It would show other projects that you've worked on that were successful. If it was a project that involved a certain kind of knowledge, you would show them what kind of education or training or experience you have that relates to that sort of knowledge. Just kind of basically making it clear that you're somebody who's reliable and can be counted on for this project. Okay, here are the questions. A, what is the purpose of this proposal, and who is the audience? Okay, remember, there are 3 main business purposes: to inform, to build goodwill, and then to persuade or to request. Which one are they doing here? And then who is the audience? In other words, who has this proposal been written to? B, if the proposal is approved and the initiative is implemented, in other words, if they do the proposal and get it all finished, who will become the audience? 3 marks. So the initial proposal is going out to the people that they hope to get the money from. But once they've gotten that money, who is going to be seeing this completed project? They talk about this in the proposal. You don't have to guess. You have to go back and reread. They talk about the audiences that they hope to reach, okay? Number C, list 5 specific details of information contained within the proposal that you believe are important for the readers of the proposal to know about. Okay, so this is a chance to practice your prioritizing skills. There was a lot of information there. Which details are the most important, and how do you decide? So first of all, you got to think about what is a major detail versus what is a minor detail. A major detail is something that's going to be crucial to understand the proposal. You have to know this or it's not going to make sense. A minor detail, it's information that may be interesting, but you can understand the proposal just as well without it. Major details will generally be general, more large facts and pieces of information. Minor details will be more specific, tinier facts. A major detail will be a core element of the main idea, right? A minor detail will be a specific example that explains the major idea, but again, it's not critical. D, what benefit will this proposal, if approved, have for a larger audience? Comment in at least 2 sentences. How will this project help people? Since it's asking for at least 2 sentences, try to give at least 2 ideas. And again, you don't have to make it up in your head. The proposal itself said what some of the benefits were or what kind of goals they were hoping to obtain, how it would help people, okay? E, do you think there will be any disagreement to this proposal? Comment in at least 2 sentences. If you think there will be disagreement, what do you think the objections or concerns might be? If you think there will be no disagreement, what makes you think that? So remember that they are writing these people and asking for a chunk of money. If you were on the board that is in charge of giving the money, what might be some objections or concerns that you have about this project or about this group? It could be about the timing or the cost or whatever. Or what would make you say, oh yeah, absolutely, I think this is a great proposal and here's why. Okay? Because they don't just, it's not going to be rubber stamped. Someone's got to be at the other end deciding, yep, this is a good idea, or nope, this is not a good idea. Give me at least 2 reasons why you think there will not be any disagreement or why there might be disagreement. Okay, F. This is a tricky one, so I'm going to start it and then we're going to kind of talk about it in more depth here. Do you think the context is the timing and the circumstance, is appropriate for this proposal? Comment in at least 2 sentences. Think about what would constitute poor timing and what would constitute poor or inappropriate circumstances. Okay, poor versus good timing. Poor timing can sometimes be really obvious. For example, you're not going to plan to hold a Christmas parade in July. It's just the wrong time for it. But poor timing can sometimes be more subtle. For example, January is a slow month for most businesses because people have spent so much time in December spending their money that they're usually cutting back. So December could be a really bad month for opening a new business, even if it was something that was, say, winter related. Good timing is when your proposal and the time that you're planning to do it just work together really well. For example, a proposal for after-school programming that's planning to get started in September. Okay. And then circumstance. What makes for a good or a bad circumstance? It's kind of a funny word. In business terms, when we're discussing circumstances, it kind of means like the overall environment that the business is operating in. It could be the literal environment. For example, a lawn mowing business trying to open in the Antarctic is just not going to be very successful. There's nothing there to mow. Or trying to open a deep sea diving tourist attraction in the mountains. These sound silly because I'm trying to make very obvious ones, but people have done things like this where they're opening a business that there just isn't a market for it in that area. But it's not always a physical thing. It can be the overall atmosphere or the type of society or people that exist in a certain area. Trying to start a new hip-hop club in the middle of rural farmland probably isn't going to work. Neither is going to be trying to open a vegan restaurant in the middle of cattle country. The circumstances, the environment is just not right for the business that you're trying to create. So for this proposal, what is there about the timing and the circumstances that either is good or is bad? G. In a paragraph consisting of at least 6 sentences, Summarize this proposal. Think about what is the most important parts of the proposal to mention. This is somewhat similar to the idea of what are the most 5 important facts we talked about earlier, but it's a little more open-ended in that you can choose how many you think is important. And it's also intended to be a little more connected, okay? The proposal's really big. You are going to need to prioritize it to summarize it well. What is the most important information? What are they asking for? Why do they want it? What will be different if they get what they want? Who will it help? Okay. Don't forget that you still want to be using your good paragraphing formatting. You still want to have an opening sentence that gives the main idea. And then you want to have 3 to 5 body sentences that give the details, generally in order. And then you want to have a closing sentence that restates the topic. And this is one way in that it's different than the previous question. Because the other one was just a list of here's 5 facts. Here we want you to kind of tie it together and make a strong paragraph, okay? Okay, so remember, a paragraph is not a list. A paragraph needs to sound connected and have good flow, okay? The sentences should not sound choppy and unrelated. One way to help make the paragraph sound well is to use transition phrases. They can help convey a sense of time or sequence. They can show cause and effect. They can help create comparisons or contrast. They can add conditions or limitations. These small little phrases can often add a world of meaning to your sentences, and they can make your writing sound very professional and very confident. Okay, so here are some examples. Some words that explain time or sequence. Things like after, before, next, then, after a while, during the winter, finally, at last. For cause and effect, things like due to, since, as a result, consequently, thus, as a result of, in order to. Conditions or limitations, unless, until, if, even though, provided that, as long as. Comparisons could be like or as, or other words like equally, similarly, in the same way, likewise, in comparison. You can also show contrast like on the other hand, conversely, a different view, alternatively, however, yet, nevertheless. Okay, so right here, I'm going to kind of show you. Oh, that's not what I want, sorry. Okay, so here I'm just going to do a little list of completely unrelated facts. Well, not unrelated, but like I'm not trying to make them connected. I'm just trying to make them sound like a list. I'm not obviously going to do our proposal because I don't want to give all the information away. Hang on a sec. There we go. Okay, so let's say different kind of proposal. We need 10,000 for this project. We are creating a youth center for at-risk youth to hang out in safely after school. We already have a building that just needs renovations. Let's see, we identified the need by talking to parents, youth, community members. All right, I've got 4 there instead of 5. That'll do. Okay, so that is list format, right? It is not a connected paragraph. It's just a list. I haven't thought about what order it goes in. I haven't thought about how they're connected. I'm not trying to create any sense of continuity, okay? But here is how that would look different if I was trying to create a connected paragraph, okay? So here we go. And I'm labeling it up top so you can see it. Connected paragraph. Okay. Sorry, this part always goes a little slow. I usually try and set it up, but okay. So again, I'd start with an opening sentence. Okay. This proposal is about our request for $10,000 in order to create a youth center for at-risk youth to hang out safely after school. Okay, so I've actually ended up combining these two sentences together because, again, I'm not just doing facts. I'm trying to create a unified sense of a paragraph. So here's my main idea. What are some of the details? Okay, we have already located a building that we can use, which simply needs some renovations. Okay, so now here in my list, I didn't include all that much information. In my summary, I have a little bit more room to be able to write some more information. So maybe I might list who's planning to do the renovations. Is there a group or a company that has decided to help out? So let's say here are several local churches have volunteered to send work crews on the weekend to help us with these renovations. Okay, what else do we need? We identified the need. I'm actually going to put that up top because I think it's important that we haven't just kind of imagined this out of nowhere. We developed the project in relationship to a need. Okay, so I don't want to keep on saying we. The need for a building for a youth center, was identified by discussions with parents, youth, businesses, and other community members. Why? How did it develop? It was felt that it would be a deterrent from vandalism and drug use and minor criminal activities such as shoplifting. Okay. So I've already, sorry, deterrent is wrong. I can't think of how to spell it. It would be, I'm just going to put a little line there. I'll have to fix that later. So now I haven't got my transitions that I talked about. So I would want to add those. Sometimes as you're going along, it's really easy to see them, but sometimes you kind of add them in later. So in other words, to begin, this proposal, okay. Let's see. First, the need for a youth center was identified. Let me think. I'm trying to think of. I'm wanting to say next or due to. This. Due to several recent incidents, it was felt. Okay, so see how I'm doing these, and the whole point is that I'm trying to make connections between the different sentences. Sometimes when we're writing, the connections either seem really obvious to us, but they're sort of implied rather than spelled out. When we use these kind of transition phrases, we are spelling them out in a much more obvious manner, and it actually makes for much better writing. Especially with business writing, you never want to be obscure, you want to be clear, direct, and obvious, right? You want there to be no possibility of misunderstanding. When you're asking for a whole bunch of money, you need to make sure people know what you're talking about, okay? So that is assignment 32. Like I said, we are going to come back to this. Assignment 36, we have to write our own proposal. So take your time, do this carefully. If you have any questions, like I said, give me a phone call. I will be here later on and I'd be happy to talk to you.